Welcome to Lecture 7 of Networks, Friends, Money, and Bytes. In today's lecture, we'll formulate and answer the question of how do I viralize a YouTube video. In the last 3 lectures, we have went through the following set of topics. We talked about aggregation of opinion on Amazon by averaging their ratings. We then talked about the resolution of opinion and conflicts in Wikipedia through voting and bargaining theory. And now we are going to talk about the impact and models of dependence of opinion. But unless you are most interested in getting a hands-on guide in viralizing your video in this lecture, let me caution that in this lecture, just like the last one and the next one, we will see a very large gap between theory and practice. In this case, between the theory of influence models on the one hand, which is certainly very rich, and the practice of actual commercializing your video on YouTube to a great success on the other hand. So you shouldn't take this lecture as a guide to make every video you make into a viral one, although we will learn some interesting insights into the way that things become viral. And in general, we will see throughout this and the next lecture quite a bit of network effect. We have touched upon this term in informal ways in the last few lectures, and we have seen that it can be positive or it can be negative. Wireless devices interfering with each other, as in lecture 1, that was certainly a negative network effect. And people reinforcing each other's utility of a certain product or service, that would be a positive network effect. And network effect can manifest itself in either an externality, that is basically a coupling, in their utility or payoff or cost, or coupling in the way that resources are constrained across them. Or it could be manifested as information dependence, as we will see in this lecture. Now on to YouTube. As we probably all know very well, that YouTube itself is a viral phenomenon. It started in 2005 and was acquired in little over a year by Google in 2006. And in 2 more years' time, YouTube had become the second largest search engine, even though we wouldn't normally think of it as a search engine, but just amount of traffic that attracts to its website. And the number of searches people run on YouTube was so big. It was the second largest one right after Google itself. And as of 2011, 40% of the internet video were watched on YouTube. And knowing that a video is the dominant internet traffic by volume, this is a huge dominant force of internet traffic today. And some of these YouTube videos are viral. For example, Charlie Bit My Finger again. That one received over 465 million views as of July 2012. So this less than 1 minute clip got almost 500 million of viewers as of the summer when this video was recorded. And in general, however, you see that the histogram of the popularity of these video clips fall off as what's called a power law distribution. We'll talk about power law in several lectures' time. Each minute, more than 24 hours of new video clips were uploaded. And with that rate continuously increasing, we know that many of the videos did not get anywhere close to this kind of viral phenomenon. So the question is, how can you make your video viral? We'll have to first understand where can people find your video. In general, 4 ways. One is through a web search. It could be searching on YouTube itself or on Google. So you have to make sure that the keywords of your tags and titles and summary have well crafted to take advantage of these searches. The second way is referral through either a tweet, retweet, or an email. And the third way is subscription. As we saw that a lot of popularity differences between videos of the similar nature and launched the same day can be explained by the strength of the subscription to different people's channels. And of course, browsing through the recommended video clips by YouTube itself. So out of these 4 ways, in order to make your video viral, you want to make sure all 4 are very strong. Okay. There's also the thumb up and down, although that has been shown to be playing a much lesser role in enhancing the popularity of a clip. So let's just take a quick detour for 2 minutes about the YouTube recommendation. Now, YouTube does not use PageRank recommendation engine, even though that is used by its mother company Google. Part of that because linking across the videos by tags is very noisy. Now, nor does YouTube use the Netflix price kind of recommendation engines. Part of that is because the viewing data for short clips is very noisy, and also YouTube videos often have very short life cycles. So instead, YouTube leverages several things. One is, of course, you want to match the keywords in the title, tag, and summary. And then it goes through a co-visitation count calculation and a watch count calculation. What's a co-visitation? That's each pair of video watched together by a viewer over, say, 24-hour period. A viewer watched A and B, 2 video clips together. If so, then we say that A node and B node, each node is a video clip on YouTube, form a link. Okay. Then YouTube will look at the set of video within K hops, K steps of links from a given video to help make a recommendation. And watch count is basically just look at how many times has this video been watched. And often it would recommend only those videos with watch count numbers similar to or slightly higher than the one that you're currently watching. So if you're watching one with a view count of 1,800, then they try to give you other video with watch count of 1,800 and above. As you can see, this makes the richer, the more popular ones even more popular, leads to so-called preferential attachment, as we will see in about 4 lectures time. Now, how do we even make sense of the word viral? Because sometimes, for example, Charlie bit my finger again, that's clearly a viral one, but often when people generally speak of the word viral to represent a YouTube or some other kind of social or commercial phenomena, they refer to the following 3 characteristics. Number 1 is that there got to be a high peak. Okay? If I'm looking at the number of newcomers to this product, service, video, and music relative to some time axis, then I want to make sure that the peak is a high one. Otherwise, it can hardly be called a viral phenomenon. Second, I also want a large volume. That means the area under the curve over time should also be large. Okay, so if it goes up very high, and let's say this is a duration of just 12 days and then quickly die down, sometimes we don't call that a viral phenomenon. It has to last long enough. And third, we want the amount of time it takes to rise to a high spot to be relatively short compared to the amount of time it stays at that peak level. Okay, so for example, this curve C, is often viewed as viral. Okay? It's got a high peak, it's got a large amount of area under the curve, and it's a pretty short amount of time to rise to a high point and stay there long enough. Now, of course, we can also have a curve that rises extremely fast to a very high point and stay there forever and never comes down. That is also a possibility feeded by positive feedback, as we will see later. So roughly speaking, we say if you got a high peak, large volume, and short time to rise, then we say that is a viral phenomenon. There's a related phenomenon called tipping, exemplified in these daily deals sites such as Groupon and Living Social. For example, Groupon was founded in 2008, a relatively recent company, and yet within 2 years it was generating over $300 million of annual revenue with a pretty high profit margin across more than 500 cities. And within 3 years, it achieved a $1 billion annual revenue, supposedly the fastest rise to $1 billion annual US dollar revenue in the history of any company. And it was went public towards the end of 2011. Now, there are many discussions on whether the profit margin of Groupon, Living Social, and the like, there are hundreds of these daily deals websites since 2008. Are they too high? What kind of profit margin will be sustainable in the future? But roughly speaking, for our purpose, we can clearly see two things. A is the value of crowds. The reason that these daily sites can grab suppliers, on the one hand, supplier of food, of services, of products, is because that these suppliers know that A, this is a good advertisement, B, people may come back later to buy the product for full price once they like it, and C, even though they're offering steep discount, for example 50% off, part of that can go into Groupon, part of that goes to the final consumer. They know that there will be a large enough crowd even for this round. Otherwise, the deal is not tipped and the deal is off the table. So if the deal is on, then they know there's substantial enough amount of sales. That's the value of crowds. On the other hand, there's also the power of crowds. You also need Groupon to be able to get consumers, on the other hand, to come together above a threshold number determined as workable by Groupon and the supplier within a short period of time, for example 24 hours. Reaching a certain threshold within a very short amount of time, so you need this kind of deal, each of them, to be viral enough. And later in the advanced material part of the lecture, we'll talk about synchronization as a proxy to these kind of phenomena. It's not quite the same thing. This is talking about we need a minimum number of people within a period, a window of time. Synchronization talks about getting everybody, at least everybody in a subset targeted, to move along the same steps, not just to make same decision once within a window of time, but make repeated moves with the locked phase. But you can see that there's an element of time and there's an element of volume in understanding influence powers in a crowd.